Hey guys! In this video I'm going to be showing you how to make a papyrus plush. Now I know you guys have been waiting for this video a long time because I ran out of fabrics and it took me a while to get some money together to get the fabrics and actually film the video, and because it takes quite a while to make, it took me a long time to actually make and edit this video as well. So I hope that it is all worth the wait, and I hope you enjoy making your papyrus plushies. Okay, so I'm starting off by cutting out the templates for Papyrus, and I've put a picture with all the templates in this video. There's a lot of templates to cut out, but I've put the colours and the sizes in this picture. So just cut out the amount that I've put on the template. So what I do when it comes to sewing is I do all the same coloured pieces like in one go. So I start off with white. For the face, what I do is I take the two semicircle pieces that I've got and you sew like the straight line together. Sew all the way around Papyrus's middle bit and leave a hole in the top. And I do the same for both the shoulder pieces. I pin the chin piece to the sort of down against the front face piece. And then what I do is I sew sort of the circular edges of the semicircle. I sew that around to the front of the face, so then you should have a gap between where the back of the chin is and the back of the head, which is what I use to turn inside out and stuff. Next I sew the black pieces, which are pretty straightforward because they're just rectangles, so you basically just sew down either side for all of them pieces so they now make like a tube when you turn them inside out. Finally, sewing the red pieces. Having pinned them together, I just sew around the outside of the gloves, leaving the top line open. And for the boots, I tend to sew like, I start with the back and I sew the back piece to both the side pieces, and then I sew sort of all of them to the bottom piece, and then I attach the front to the side pieces and the bottom piece, and you should just have a hole at the top of your boot so that you can turn it inside out there. It's pretty difficult to explain, so I hope you can see what I'm doing in the video. Next, what you do is turn all the pieces you've just sewn inside out. Now what I do is I just assemble my pieces all out as if you was to start making him, but this is just to help get an idea for the length of wire that I'm going to cut to put in the arms, the waist and the legs. So what I do once I've laid out all the pieces is I get my wire, measure it up against your patterns, and using pliers just cut the size you want so that you can then slot that inside the pattern that you already have there. Next, what you do is you just start to stuff everything. So I basically start stuffing the things that don't have wire in first, because wire takes like a lot of time to actually stuff. So I just stuff the easiest things first, like the head and the sort of the middle bit and the shoulder bits and the boots. When you stuff the wire, you need to make sure that, because you can't poke wire through stuffing, it's really difficult because when you stuff it sort of clogs together. So what you have to do is you have to try and hold the wire in the sort of arm and stuff around it, because you also want to try and make it as central in the piece as possible, so you don't want the wire stuck to the edge. Okay, so you may have noticed, like, oh, how are you going to put the shoes on? How are you going to put the waist to the top of the sort of the trouser things that he has? So what I do is I haven't actually got like a pattern for the tops of the shoes and the tops of the waist. So what I tend to do there is I put the boot that is now stuffed on some red polar fleece that I was using, and I sort of trace around it or cut around it. And then I cut a circle shape that will fit in just inside the boot at the top, so that there will be a bit of an edge, just so it fits nicely, and I'll just pin that there. And I basically do the same process for the blue waist, where I just measure around it, cut out a circle and pin that together. So once you've pinned the waist to the big circle bit and all the pieces of the arms together, just using the ladder stitch, which I show you in my how to make a base plush video, you will just go around a couple of times to make sure each piece is attached to each other securely. Just ladder stitch up that last line at the back of the head where you had the hole to actually stuff it. Next what I do is I take the blue piece and I start to ladder stitch on the top circle. Okay, next what I do is I attach the circular piece to go at the top of the boots to the inside of the boots. So because obviously you want a little bit of a rim for the boots, just so that it looks like they're taller than sort of how his leg would go into the shoe, I'm going to use fabric glue to sort of glue the edges of the circular piece a little bit inside the shoe, if that makes sense, so that then once I've glued them in, be careful not to get glue like too stuck to the stuffing, because then you just pull all the stuffing out. After I've done that, I will fold the tops over of the boots just so that they don't have a harsh edge on them, and I will then glue the underneath of that fold so that they just have a nice neat edge on the edge of the boots. Next, I ladder stitch the black waist onto the blue waist bit, and I just use the same ladder stitch method that I use for all the other pieces. Attaching the white shoulder pieces and the arms to the white circular piece, ladder stitch those on. Okay, next I cut out a neck for Papyrus's head to attach to the white circular bit of his body, because if you just attach the head straight to the circular bit, it'll look really weird. It'll look like he's really hunched. So what I do is I cut out a rectangle strip, and you can choose how sort of thick, as in how tall. Sort of the thicker you do the strip, the taller the neck will be, and so you can choose how tall you want the neck to be. But once I've cut out the neck, I just fold it over so that the soft side is inwards, and I sew up that line so that it just creates a round circular tube. Again, if you want it to be a sort of fatter neck, you can make the tube longer. I didn't do mine too long, so he has quite a thin neck, but once you've sewn this, you can then stuff this piece and sort of ladder stitch it onto the body in the centre of the circular body, and then you can pin the head to the neck. Start ladder stitching on the head to the neck. However, when sewing the head, I also sew the chin part a little bit to the actual circular piece, because otherwise his head will tilt backwards, because the back of the head is actually thicker than the front. So what I like to do is I just like to sew the chin to the circular bit to keep his head up straight, so he doesn't look too top heavy. So next what I do is I like to attach the legs to the boots before I attach the legs to the body, because I feel like it's a lot easier to control where you're sewing when the legs are not attached to the body. You don't have to get the rest of the plush getting in your way. So I pin these to the base of the boots and I ladder stitch these on, go around again a couple of times, make sure they're secure. And then once you've done that is I glue the front and the back of the boots to the actual legs, so it just looks like it looks neater, I think. I mean, you don't have to do this part, but I just like them sort of flat against the legs so that they don't sort of go curling sort of the other way. Then once the glue has dried on the boots, just pin your legs to the blue short piece and then just ladder stitch your legs onto that bit. So now your papyrus is nearly done. You've got everything sewn together, so all of like the base bits are done and you can start working on the details. So what I do is I get some black wool felt, some yellow wool felt and some red wool felt, and I cut out pieces for papyrus's details. So I start with cutting out 6 black strips for the shoes and just measure the sort of the fabric against the shoe for how long, how wide you want the strips to be. And once I've cut them out, I pin them down in place on the plush. The same goes for the yellow felt, where I measure by wrapping the fabric around sort of the arms and the shoulders and also the waist. I find that the gloves, the top of the gloves and the bottom of the shoulders, they all come to the same length. So I find a sort of a height that I like on the rectangle that I'm cutting out, and I then cut them all out to the same length, wrap them around the unders of the arms and the top of the gloves, and I pin them in place as well. The waist is slightly longer. The waist is slightly longer, so I have to like cut out a longer piece for the waist. For the blue shorts part, I have to go even longer then, but again, just cut out a strip, wrap it around his waist and pin it in place. For the chest with the white bit, just look at a reference and you cut out like a triangle shape and 3 lines just to the size that you want, and then basically pin them all down so that all the details are just pinned in place. So once everything's pinned down in place, you just use fabric glue and just carefully fabric glue every part of these details down onto your plush. Make sure you get all the corners so that nothing's going to come falling off. Using some red thread, next I get like a very long bit of thread. You want there to be lots of thread on your needle, and just go into one side of the hand and come throughout on the other side. Keep looping your thread through the same position to tighten up to make a sort of gap in the hands to sort of make fingers. Keep sewing over and over and do 2 different lines on both hands. Now moving on to the scarf of Papyrus, I don't know where the footage has gone of me cutting out the actual piece, but what I literally do is I just sort of get some fabric and I wrap it around his neck, around his neck and head, so that I can get the idea of the right size. And I'll just cut out sort of a simple scarf shape, wrap that around his neck and start to neaten up the edges, fold the edge over, pin it down, sort out pin where you want the ruffles to be, and sort of even up the back of the scarf, which I just have it sort of crossing over. I then just glue down the scarf, make sure the edge is curled inwards to have a nice edge and not a raw edge. You can also glue some of the ruffle bits down if you like an area of ruffle bits. And finally is his face. So what I use is black wool felt, and I use some white wool felt as well for teeth and fabric scissors. And you need to use a reference for this. I just go by the standard sort of pixel art that Papyrus has in Undertale. And I just then try and copy this by just cutting out shapes from the black wool felt and then pinning them to his face. Once I've pinned them, I will then fabric glue them.
Okay guys, thank you very much for watching this video. I really appreciate you checking out my videos on how to make plushies. For this video I have a very special offer, and I'm going to be selling this Papyrus doll because basically my shelf is really full. I do not have enough space. He's quite a big plush. I'm not sure how much he is in inches. I'll measure it for when I sell him, but yeah, I've just not got enough space for him. And I actually think, like, because it was supposed to be a tester, I would have made a video for this a long time ago. It was a test pattern for my cousin and he came out better than I thought he would, so that's why I decided to make another one and just show you guys how I made him. So basically I am going to be giving you guys an opportunity to be able to buy him just as a limited edition, because I won't be making any more Papyruses for a good long while, I should think, so it is very, yeah, a special offer just for now at the moment, and I'll put the link to where you can buy him from as well in the description. Thank you very much for watching, and if you like this video feel free to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. I'm sure I'll be making more Undertale plushies in the future. If you opted to make one, I hope you enjoyed making, and I hope this tutorial was helpful to you. So I'll see you in the next video.